gentlemen, welcome to NBL Overtime. The off-season is in the full swing as the Perth Wildcats continue to celebrate, but there are 8 teams trying to do exactly what the Wildcats did just over a week ago. The NBL free agency kickstarts in a couple of days. We've got a brand new head coach to the league as well, with Will Weaver joining the Sydney Kings. Plenty to get into. You can get involved anytime you like. Hashtag NBL Overtime, hashtag NBL Off-season, hashtag See Incredible. Kerry Williams, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, how you going?
and Liam Sandberg, how you doing?
I'm good. It's amazing. The NBL is becoming more and more a 12-month-a-year proposition. Obviously, the season just finished the other day, and as you say, free agency right around the corner. And it's always so exciting when players are up for grabs and teams are trying to rebuild.
Before we get into the hustle and bustle of free agency and some re-signings, and Liam Sandberg with the latest news there, let's start with Will Weaver, who currently the head coach of Long Island Nets in the G League. G League Coach of the Month, which was announced today. They finished atop the division, the number 1 seed in the G League, and now will be the head coach of the Sydney Kings. They're a little bit, had we have suggested it 3 weeks ago, probably a little bit left of field, but it warmed up in the last couple of weeks, and in the end, he's got the head job. How's it going to go?
Well, he's a really good coach, and it's very exciting. He's not a coach without head coaching experience. Yes, in the NBL, but certainly has done a really good job with the Long Island Nets. Mitch Creek loves working with him, but it's his work with the Boomers since 2014, when Brett Brown recommended him to Andre Lamanis. He was one of Brett Brown's staff at the Philadelphia 76ers, and he was part of that World Cup campaign in 2014, the Rio campaign in 2016, has got to know Australian ballers throughout that time and is held in really high regard. It did come as a bit of a surprise because the feeling for a lot of that time was that Rob Beveridge was going to get that job, but things changed late in the piece, and it's an exciting transitional period for the Kings. We
continue to talk so much about the legitimacy of the NBL, Andrew Bogan and that situation, Torrey Craig, imports going and playing in the NBA and the amount of Australians in the NBA. And now we're going to the next step with his coaches. This is a man who's been involved in the NBA as an assistant coach and now as a head coach of the G League, which is in the backyard of the NBA. And now he's decided to come and continue to hone his talents and his skills down under. So players we talk about when it comes to legitimising the league, Kerry, but now we've got the coaches doing it as well, which is huge.
Here's what I want to know. Who's going to be his imports?
Well, we don't know. Yeah.
I know whose imports are going to be.
Early.
I know.
Here we go.
Let's have it.
He's going to get 3. He and Bogut are both going to sit down and say, look, these are the type of imports I want. I want guys that are pretty much 13th, 14th, 15th men on rosters right now. They're going to bring here. I'm telling you what Bogut's going to do. Last week I was on this show.
You were.
Did not say.
You've been on this show all but 1 week.
Did I not say he's going to go get American coach?
Yep.
What happened?
That happened.
Watch what's going to happen next.
Well,
I'm telling you what he's going to do.
Would you like Ty Wesley in one of those spots?
No, even though he is top 5. He is top 5 free agent right now. He is a free agent, right? Okay, cool.
We'll get to our top 5 a little bit later on, but we have to take someone out.
I believe they're going to go get like those type of players, 13th, 14th, 15th men. That's not getting no playing time in the league. They're going to work something out with a team, with an NBA team, and say, look, we can't pay the majority of this salary. You know that. We can pay this much. This guy's going to come down here and play. All he's going to do is sit your bench. He's not going to get in. You might as well let him play in this league that's world class, and he's going to get better. That's what I think is going to happen.
This is not a new thing. I mean, this is what happened with James Ennis in Perth, Jordan McRae here in Melbourne, DeAndre Daniels back in Perth, Devin Hall.
Devin Hall!
To some extent.
Exactly.
Now, it doesn't always work really well. James Ennis took Perth to the title. DeAndre Daniels was less successful. Jordan McRae put up big numbers, but it wasn't a great fit there in Melbourne. And Devin Hall wasn't great.
Went back and won a championship with the Cavs, Jordan McRae. It just something did slip my mind. Didn't you tweet last week about the Perth Wildcats import and how you're going to jump on the Red Army?
That's it.
That's my hot take.
Hit us.
So, word on the street is there's a guy who I speak to a lot all season who's a part of the Red Army. And all we spoke was via DM. every game, every week this season. So I can't say he's an associate or a friend. It's just a person I talk to on social media.
You have no idea what this man looks
I
like.
have no idea. His face is like a meme.
And he's giving
I'm
you the
just telling
word
you,
on the street.
this is my take.
Okay.
It's coming from this guy,
source.
100%.
Let's hear it.
He goes and says to me, now I don't know if it's true, you guys tell me. He says to me, there is an office that the Perth Wildcats split in this building, in this space. I don't know the name of it.
It's in Perth, you're talking.
It's on the same floor. It's next door. If this is Wildcats, next door in the same space, it's another company. Am I right or wrong?
You might be right.
Okay.
The meme probably
so
knows.
the point is, what he said was that, this is for real. He heard KDMs, key decision makers, talking about this specific player, potentially reaching out to his agent to get him signing on that team.
And that player's name is?
Who's my favorite player in this league?
Shawn Long.
There you go. Could you imagine Shawn Long signing with the Perth Wildcats? My man, I would be the leader of the Red Army. You hearing it first.
Look,
The Red Army might not want you.
That's no way.
They do?
100%.
Okay.
If Shawn Long signs with the Perth Wildcats, my man, go bring whoever you want to bring, Andrew Bogut, won't matter.
Oh, no, I hear you.
It won't matter.
In really, really high demand. Now, listen, if you're a team in the NBL and there's the potential for you to have an import big, how are you not reaching out to Shawn Long?
Hello, I'm with you.
Everyone should be reaching out to Shawn Long. And the Wildcats, Tom Jervis played the entire 2018-19 season away from his family, his wife and daughter, here in Melbourne. She's a lawyer, she's working here. And that's the difficult thing to do. So if one of their bigs, they don't re-sign him or he leaves, I reckon, well, of course they would look at an import big, and why wouldn't you start with Shawn Long?
Tom Jervis is he's not a good or great, he's an amazing backup. He's a great backup, big. There's two teams now who I'm sure would be looking for his services.
Angus Brandt would be an even better one.
Imagine him as a backup. Shawn Long, Angus Brandt.
But New Zealand wants Shawn Long back. Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, how would they not? How would Tommy Greer not be talking to Shawn Long? Melbourne United, Dean Vickman, Vince Crevalio, you want a younger version of Josh Boone? Give Shawn Long a call.
Boy, I tell you this, that check is going to be serious. Ooh, Shawn Long.
March 29 is the deadline for contracts as well to take up options. And, of course, we've spoken a fair bit about the options with a team or a player option as we head towards March 29. Now, there was a particular... We need to knock something on the head. We spoke a fair bit about Ruben Turangi in the last month. We believed that he had a player option, to which we said, don't take it, brother. Test the market, and it might be back at Brisbane because you had a really good year, including winning 2 in the season awards. Turns out it was a clerical error, and he is not, in fact, out of contract. So, Ruben Turangi, have a good year again, and we'll discuss this again in 12 months' time. What do you see from that, boys, with the club and the player options?
Well, let me go through a little bit of what I'm hearing. All right, so I'm hearing that the Adelaide 36ers are going to snap up their options on Froling and Moore, but not on Doyle.
Okay.
The Bullets, I'm expecting Cambesto actually to enter free agency.
Really?
Yes, which might come as a bit of a surprise. Now,
He had a really good year.
He really
did.
They're doing some moving and shaking elsewhere on their roster, and so it might be a matter for them of trying to renegotiate with Bear after not taking up that option. We know the Taipans have declined their option on Lucas Walker, but are still open to the possibility of re-signing him in free agency as a renegotiation. I'm hearing Marshall Nelson's going to be picked up, his option for the Illawarra Hawks. I'm not expecting Moller or Smith-Milner to have their options picked up. And with the Kings, I don't think any of those guys are going to have their options picked up by the Kings. And part of that process, obviously, they're not interested in bringing back David Ware. Tom Wilson, the rumours continue to swirl about him making a move to the AFL. But Daniel Kickett and Deng Deng, my understanding is that the Kings are looking to renegotiate with those guys in free agency.
Okay, here's my question with club option, right? Let's say a player has a good year and it's a club option. Can they break that club option and renegotiate a whole new complete deal?
100%. Now, if we think you're a $90,000 a year guy, but your third year on the contract we signed 3 years ago is 140. We've got the club option on that. We decline the option and we say, hey, let's sit down and work it out. Let's settle on maybe 100 for the next year. And that's what a lot of these teams are trying to do with a lot of these guys. They say, well, we don't want to pay what's in line with that last year of the contract, but we still want you. Let's sit down and work it out. It's what the Sydney Kings did with Dane Pineau last year. They declined his option, but then they re-signed him in free agency.
Okay, so let's say, for example, again, I just want to be clear on this. A player, you have the club option, you're the team.
Right.
I play better. And I want to come to the table and say, look, I don't want this option. You can say, stuff you. You got to take it, right?
Right.
Yep.
But in good faith, we would go, let's discuss an extension.
Okay.
Because reward you for your improved play. Let's add another year. Let's bump that up.
Gotcha.
So on and so forth.
Okay, just checking.
All right, March 29 is when the club options have to be all dealt out because free agency starts on April 1, and this is where really the interest starts to jump up. And boys, it's something we haven't seen a great deal in the NBL in the past. It started to warm up last year, but I think as we've spoken about a lot on this show, it's going to, as the money gets a bit bigger and the league becomes more exposed and continues to rise, we're going to see this time of the year be even more of a feeding frenzy. In April 1, I know we're pretty excited about Lam Santa Maria. What do you expect to be the first, or do you have any ideas of where the first domino might fall?
Well, that's a good kind of turn of phrase because that's how it works, right? A lot of teams, they have their eye on one guy and they put all their eggs in that basket. And then if it goes a different way, then they turn their attention somewhere else. I think the big one is Nathan Sobey and where he lands. We know that he's not going to be returning to the Adelaide 36ers. That seems pretty solid at this point. And for me, kind of reading the tea leaves, talking to some people around the traps, I think it's come down to Southeast Melbourne Phoenix and the Brisbane Bullets. And my mail is that the Bullets are ahead in that race, which means that would be the first big domino to fall, and then people can start looking elsewhere from there.
If the Bullets were to get the signature of Nathan Sobey, we're going to see a different makeup. I would be surprised if they went with 3 imports, considering they already have Glidden in a guard position as well. Kadee, of course, who started for a majority of this year, may have to come off the bench. Adam Gibson gets shuffled a little bit further down as well, so that's an interesting one with Adam Gibson and his future. But you would think that you would have no guard import, and you go with a 3, 4 or 5, but considering that Matthew Hodgson played so well as the 5, you're not going to put him onto the bench. I would think if they went with Sobey, be a 2 import Brisbane Bullets would see next year. On my side, do you agree?
Okay, if Sobey signs with Brisbane, what position is he going to play?
Point guard.
Okay, so of course that brings Kadee to the bench. Where does Gibson go? Is he still in the contract?
Elsewhere.
I think he's
Or
out.
he's a free agent?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Patterson obviously is a priority re-signing. And then I think that's part of why Bairstow might enter free agency is because they might look at an import 4.
Okay, import 4, import 3, 4 with Sobey and Glidden starting and then Hodgson at the 5. And that's a pretty fun team to watch. It's not always that easy, and we've seen teams in the past have a great team on paper and not be able to do, replicate what we expect. But that'd be a pretty cool, fun team.
If you're Nathan Sobey,
why are you going to Brisbane? You were 1 game out of the finals.
Brisbane are in the finals.
You were 1 game out of finals.
Oh, you say stay at Adelaide?
Why would you go? That's not an upgrade.
Where would you
You must
go?
be chasing a check. I'm going to Southeast Melbourne. He must be chasing it. They must about to give him a huge salary for him to go there. I don't see how that's an upgrade.
Well, what's the other big pull, though, to go into Brisbane for a guy like Sobey?
I don't know.
Well, the head coach coaches the national team.
Okay, what does that do for
you?
you?
Want to play in the FIBA World Cup in 2019, later this year?
So that's
Tokyo,
what he's selling him.
2020?
Man. He's basically telling him, look, you sign with us.
No.
You're coming to Tokyo.
He's not saying
Not
that,
exactly,
but
he's saying you want to develop. Well,
Yeah.
We have a good relationship. We run the same stuff. Be part of the program. And we can build from there.
Sobey backs himself in of being, and he's been in the program, of course, without the NBA-dominated team. But if you are under the eyes of the Boomers coach or any national coach around the world on a daily basis, it's going to not harm your chances of being a part of the national program. At a very minimum, the squad, which pulls together 12 players for a World Cup and then the Olympics the following year.
And what I think is interesting is that in his last press conference of the season, Andre Lamanis, after the Bullets were eliminated from the playoffs, he was asked, you disappeared a bit during the break in advance of the finals to go and coach the Boomers over against Kazakhstan. Do you think that your involvement with the Boomers negatively impacts your work with the Bullets? And he said, well, you could make that argument. But there's also some big pluses that come as well in terms of, and he just said, in terms of recruiting. We've been able to recruit a whole bunch of guys that have won the green and gold, and it sounds like they might be doing that again.
Top 5 free agents, Liam Santa Maria. I think you have. I haven't read your article this week, actually. Have you got an article? No, I'm only joking. I've heard you've got one, but I just haven't read it. I'll get to it, nbl.com.au. But let's go. Top 5 free agents we head towards April 1.
Yeah, well, I think Sobey's number one. Then I think it's Kevin Lish, who my understanding is the Kings are not re-signing prior to free agency, and he's going to explore his options. And then there's the other 3, all imports. Ty Wesley's going to be classified as a import in NBL 20. Wesley, Long, and Casper Ware. Corey, you flagged this about Casper last week or maybe even the week before. There's going to be a whole bunch of teams trying to sign him, including, you would think, one just down the road.
Yeah, I picked that same 5, as you can see right here.
In order? Close.
Close.
Close. Just before we get to... And Casper Ware's playing in Poland, I think.
You've got Casper number 1.
We're going to see
I just put
how that plays out.
Okay. That's all, yeah.
Just on the Ty Wesley situation, can you explain it for the viewers? Because it has been an ongoing situation the last couple of years. It was floated at the start of last year when he was at Melbourne United about him possibly no longer being a local player, and now he's officially out of contract. It has changed the circumstances. If you just explain what it means for Ty Wesley and why we've found ourselves where he has to be an import for NBL 20.
Yeah, well, he was signed into the NBL originally by the Breakers under the Oceania rule, which was in place and had anyone in any of those Oceanic countries, citizens of them, could sign as a local. But as time has gone by, and his move to Melbourne initially, when he first signed, was under that rule as well. But as time has gone by, that rule has changed, and it involves some specific countries within Asia, but no longer those other ones. And the understanding that was given was that he would have a certain period of time to become a citizen of either Australia or New Zealand, and then he'd be able to play as a local. And that grace period included last season, which is why he signed a 1-year deal when he moved from Melbourne to the Breakers. But the paperwork hasn't been done. He's not a citizen either way, and so he's going to be classified as a local. Now, that could change. I mean, if he gets it done midway through next season, the following year, he could obviously become a local. So I expect wherever he signs, he's probably going to sign a 1-year deal, because whether he's a local or an import changes how he sits in the market.
I got a question. How many seasons has Ty Wesley been in this league?
I'll say
4, 5?
Maybe more, 5 or 6.
5.
Yeah, I reckon 5.
Yeah,
Few
5.
at New Zealand, 2 at least at Melbourne. I reckon 2 at 1.
Yeah.
And probably 3 all up at New Zealand.
So if you have this paperwork in, which would be from what country? Australian or New Zealand?
Well, good question.
That's the complication, possibly, where he did, of course, change residency and countries of residence in the last 12 months. So I have no idea about this, but it might have complicated the process.
And it is a slower process in New Zealand. I know.
Australia.
It is. Yeah, a lot of guys get frustrated with how slow it takes over there. So, but the interesting part, from what I've been told, is that there are a whole bunch of teams keen to sign him as an import.
Yeah,
3 imports, and you go, well, one of them being Ty Wesley, we're more than comfortable with that.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Anything else before we get out of here, boys?
No?
Nothing? How about you, mate? You got anything?
No, I'm good.
I've never seen the passion in your eyes sparkle when you heard the Shawn Long rumour from a dude who DMs you with a meme as a profile pic. But there we go. There's the first rumour of what's going to be a very fun off-season.
Gonna be an interesting off-season.
Get involved.
If that happens, I am the leader of the Red Army. If that happens, I'm telling you now.
Will you still live in Melbourne, or will you relocate to West Australia?
I would be based here for sure.
Yeah, okay. You'd be based here, but the leader of the Red Army.
Have you talked to DeSantis about taking over the...
Well, we've talked.
Okay.
We have.
Okay.
But I didn't tell them. This is the first time I'm seeing a name.
Right.
You know, I had to leave it for here. You know, you got to leave all the good stuff for us.
You know what my favourite part of the last 7 days was?
What?
That on our socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at NBL to get involved, the photo of you photoshopped with the Wildcats jersey and the old mohawk.
That was crazy.
And of course, Guy at the back, who does a wonderful job, put it up there as the unveiling of the Perth Wildcats' third import, and people bought in believing it was somewhat serious. So you should take that as a compliment that people still think you're in some type of condition to play at the highest level.
I might look like it, but I would get destroyed. There's no player in the NBA NBL that couldn't destroy me right now.
All contract options need to be dealt with by March 29. Free agency starts April 1. This has been NBL Overtime. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, I get killed.